everyone, Jill here. Welcome back to Whispering Willow Farm. We have been busy prepping our beds for our fall plantings. I've got my brassicas behind me, which will be going out really soon. And I thought I would just share with you guys how I prep a bed for planting. So we kind of have the same protocol that we use for the fall or the spring and summer season as well. So as I am walking and talking you guys through kind of our protocols on prepping our beds before planting, I did have footage earlier in the week from some Instagram reels that I'm going to be popping in here to kind of show you guys what this looks like as I am talking through. As much as I would love to show this to you guys, it's high 90s, it's hot here, and it is in the middle of the day, super sunny, so I thought I'd just plop myself underneath the pavilion and share with you how I do it instead. But I do recommend getting a soil test. If you want to know how to amend and prep your beds accordingly and appropriately, you really need to know what your soil is deficient in, and so I really recommend doing that. You can do a home kit, you can go to your extension office, you can send yours off to a third-party company. There's a lot of different ways, but if you want to be really specific and you want to grow a whole lot of food or flowers or whatever it is that goal is for your farm, really just nurturing to the soil specifically is going to yield the best results. But first up, you want to cultivate your beds, and this is how I do it. So one of my most used favorite tools here on the farm is this stirrup hoe, and you can see appropriately how it got its name. This came from Haas Tools. It's great because it cuts all the weeds at a root level, which really kind of prevent them from growing back unless you have some sort of like crazy invasive grass. But I really like using this to just cultivate my beds. I will also remove my drip irrigation, cultivate really well, and go back and lay it after I have cultivated and amended and everything like that. Again, it's just kind of a preference. I think it's easier to do that, and my drip's just kind of connected at the back of my bed, so it makes it really easy. But however you choose to weed your bed or cultivate it, whether you're using some sort of hoe, whether you're using your hands, whatever it is, it's just important to make sure you get that bed free of any weeds before you get ready to plant it. Next up is my favorite thing, because now we get to feed our soil. So again, I'm kind of adding different things in different beds depending on what my soil test is telling me. Are my beds, low in nitrogen? Are they high in phosphorus? Are they too acidic? Or, there's so many different things. And so just to get the best clear picture, you do want to have a soil test done. But there are a couple things I do that you can't really add too much of a good thing, if that makes sense. And that is worm castings, which I have right here. We get these amendments from our friend Mindful Farmer. We actually do a lot of stuff in collaboration with him and his wife. We grow ginger for them that they turn into elderberry syrup, which we then resell on our shop. And they're just really cool. They're doing a lot of stuff for our local economy and community, and so we like supporting them as much as we can. And so these worm castings I'm going through and adding. And one of the things that I've been adding to all my beds lately as well is feather meal, because feather meal is a slow release fertilizer, so it will gradually release over time, which is really nice. The only bad thing to feather meal is that it smells, so it is just be mindful of that. Wear gloves if you're distributing it. You'll see in this next video that I actually just take an old broken pot and I use it. It's nice to put some sort of mask on, that way you're not inhaling it, because it is ground down feathers from poultry. So it's a great organic fertilizer though. And on the back, here's the whole, analysis. So it is primarily nitrogen. So it's 12% nitrogen. When you think about that NP and K, that's nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, that's kind of the base that we go off of. But it does talk about being, a slow release, what it's made from, how to apply it, how much to apply per bed, which is really helpful. Alright, so number one, we cultivate our bed, we rid it of all the weeds. Step number two, we apply our amendments, our fertilizer, whatever that looks like. It might even be just top dressing it with good quality compost or topsoil. For me, again, I kind of know what it is that my beds are deficient in, and so I'm adding amendments specifically for that. But still, I like to go ahead and just top dress something on there. And then I will take my broad fork, which you guys are about to see, and I just make sure that I am getting that nice and been worked in the soil. I'm loosening up my soil for planting if it's been compacted throughout the season for any reason, you know, heavy rainfall. If you have in-ground beds, maybe, you know, on accident, some of these beds have gotten walked on. You really just want to make sure you're breaking up that soil, that it's really just loose, airy, fluffy. It's going to yield the best results when it comes to root growth, especially if you're growing some of those root veggies. So whatever fertilizer you add, compost, topsoil, whatever it might be, make sure that you're going in, working that in the soil. I prefer to do this with a broad fork. That way we are complying with those no-till practices that we aim to do here on our farm. But there's several different ways you could do that. But that is the next step in prepping my beds for planting. So once we have worked in the amendments in our soil, I'm now just going to go back in and relay that drip tape. I actually like to turn it on because usually I am prepping beds and then immediately planting them. So I don't want the soil to be super dry. I want it to be nice and moist to go, you know, for my plants to go in and just not dry out. And so I like to go ahead and turn it on. You know, and usually I turn it on while I'm getting everything ready, right? I'm getting all my transplants where they need to go. If I have any sort of trellising or netting that's going to go up, any sort of wires for row covers later, I'm going to go ahead and do all of that now while the drip's kind of just like getting that soil nice and moist. But then it's time to plant. I actually get to plant all my stuff, which is really nice. You guys will see here. But it is so simple. Something I get asked continuously is, how do you prep a bed before you plant it? And this is my protocol across all of my beds, whether we are in the high tunnel or out in the raised bed garden, cultivating for weeds, removing irrigation, amending with some sort of fertilizer or compost, broad forking that in, relaying irrigation, and planting and watering. That is it. And I really recommend that you get yourself on a good schedule. I know planting seasons can be a little crazy, a little hectic, especially for the fall season where I live in Zone 7B. We have a very short window to get things outside if we're going to actually yield a harvest from them. And so I have to make sure that the systems that I'm doing are fast and efficient. I can teach them to someone else. This is one of those systems that has just worked really well. It is just that simple. And so if you are getting ready to plant your fall garden and you're wondering, you've ripped out all of your summer crops, what do I do now? This is my protocol on prepping a bed to plant, and I hope you guys found it helpful. If you want information on the amendments that I'm using, I do have a discount code. I will leave it with the link down in the description below. But thank you guys for hanging out, and I'll talk to you soon.